So this week I'm delighted to chat to James Cameron, who's the mastermind behind Mission Motorsport, and Gareth Paterson, who is a former British Army sergeant who made his debut in the Formula E Challenge race this weekend. Gentlemen, welcome. How are we?
Really good, thanks.
Yeah, fine. Thank you, Diana. Yeah, very well.
James, I'll start with you if I could. How did all this come about? I mean, obviously we're all looking at doing different things in our life at this moment in time, but how did this come about for you?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, normally we're running a program of low-level motorsport up to some quite big shiny events. A lot of which, I mean, I think the last physical event which we ran was back in March, was a go-karting event up in Warrington, aimed at veterans, service leavers, and particularly those who've struggled a little bit in their transition in between being in the military and becoming a civilian afterwards. And then, of course, the world changes around us. And so we've accelerated a really lovely program, which is about sort of joining up communities and taking some of the social, the solitude out of social isolation, really, by allowing people to go online and compete or game against each other. So we've got some just really good fun, narrative-based kind of activities folk are coming and joining up online with, whether it's Xbox or PS4. But inevitably, you find some lads who are taking it to the next level and who are not just gaming, but they're really into competing. And Gareth, first did stuff with us, and we first met back, like 2012. And he's got such a fantastic history of doing recovery sport himself, but actually approached us because he was representing and pulling together a veterans effort in an esports competition that's the first proper inter-services esports competition. So Royal Navy against British Army, against Royal Air Force, against a veterans team, and Geordie was at the centre of it and said, have you got some folk who might like to do it? And then got deluged, suddenly made a load of new friends, new mate overnight, and it all happened really quickly.
So Gareth, it was your debut, this weekend. How did you find it? Because it's something, as you say, completely different.
Completely different and nerve-wracking as well. I mean, I done the practice sections and things like that. I thought I was putting down really, really quick times. And then when you watch and you see the pro sim racers and the pro racers and they're lapping a second and a half faster, you sat there thinking, how are you going round so quickly? So I quickly readjusted my aim from, okay, I'm definitely going to podium, as everybody wants to, through to, okay, let's be realistic. Let's not dump the car and let's try not to be last. So, it was extremely eye-opening to be up against people who are world-class in sim racing and real racing, and just to be thrown into that pot and compete against them. It was amazing.
What was the biggest challenge? Because there's so many different factors. It is sim racing as opposed to being in a car on the circuit. But what was the biggest challenge that hit you?
The biggest challenge is the translation from real racing to sim racing. When you're in a car, you can feel what the car's doing. If the back end's going, you can start to feel that. Where if you're actually sim racing, you don't get that feeling. So it's more realizing what your eyes are telling you and trying to interpret what's happening on the screen and what's coming through the steering wheel. So it is a big learning curve, but through practice, I mean, my times were coming down and down and down. So I think if I had a further week, I probably would have been in and around there. But yeah, that's a really common refrain, isn't it, in motorsport? If we'd have just had another, we definitely won it. Yeah, that's driver's excuse 222. That is.
It might be a bit higher up the list than that, mate. But
I think one thing that seems that's very consistent here is that it doesn't matter, does it? As soon as you start, the competition element kicks in. You just cannot get rid of that.
No, not at all. I mean, I had a technical issue in the qualifiers, and unfortunately, I lost all sound to my headset. Couldn't hear the car. Couldn't hear the organisers telling us when we were going out to qualify. So subsequently, I missed qualification and ended up on the back row.
And that, I mean, that's so hard, because what people probably don't realise is that the way it works is every lap. So you come around on the end of lap one, and whoever's in last place, that's it, they've gone, and so on as it works its way up through the field. So to start at the back of the grid is, must have been frustrating. And you just had to make a call though, didn't you? Because I think you could have gone and tried to qualify, but without any sound. But you instead ditched the quali session and made the right choice, I think.
Realistically, I thought even with a good I was watching the times, and even with a good quali session, I still would have been towards the back. And I thought, let's get the sound fixed. Let's get it so I can hear the car and I can hear the organisers. And at least then I can go into the race with a full setup, as opposed to just being sort of left. The main aim for the first lap was to get past people, because it's a hard track to overtake on anyway. So get past people and stay in front of at least one or two for that first few eliminations. And subsequently, I managed to do that. So mission achieved. I wasn't out on the first lap.
It was very nerve-wracking for all of us watching, Diana.
I was going to ask you, how were you feeling, James, watching this? I mean, it was the Monaco circuit that you were using, which is always a bit tricky anyway. But did you get a chance to use the sim beforehand to sort of try out the circuit, Gareth?
Yeah, so there's actually a specific server that give you access to, so you can race and practice on the track with all the other sim racers, and that's when I realised just how off the pace I actually was.
Because you're not just on with the sim boys you were competing with; you were on with the proper Formula E races as well.
Do you know what? It was crazy when I was sat there and I'm driving along and a little message pops up: Stoffel Van Dorn has joined the session, and I'm like, wait, what? Is that Stoffel Van Dorn? What, the ex-Formula One racer? And then you sit there and look into it and you're like, oh yeah. And then Max Gunther's in there as well. And they're just these crazy names that I've seen on TV and things like that. And then all of a sudden, they're
Gareth
popping
Paterson
up in the chat. Oh yeah, Gareth Paterson, naturally. And they're popping up in the chat and asking how you are and stuff like that. And I was sat there thinking, this is just unreal.
It must have been an amazing feeling, because if you say you see the names and you know the names of these guys and you're doing something so different with so much information going on, but it must have really sort of lifted you to think, hey, I'm in this.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was the main thing. That was why when I realised, just when you get that realisation of just who you're up against, I was thinking, do you know what? Let's check myself. Let's give myself a realistic goal. And let's try and achieve that. And like I say, the realistic goal was not to go out first and to not wrap the car, which I managed to succeed.
Well, that thing though, Diana, that you were talking about is, you know, what a great thing to kind of aim towards and give them a focus last week. Geordie, your plate was kind of full last week because you've had a bit of an infection, haven't you?
Yeah, everybody at work are calling me patient zero. So I'm not going to say it is COVID, but it has all the hallmarks. I had still got a bit of the cough. I'm trying to stifle that during this call. So cough, temperature, fever, that sort of thing. I didn't realise just how rough I felt last week, even though everybody, including yourself, were going, "You look terrible." Like, thank you very much. So there was that. Then obviously dealing with the management side of the inter-service F1 championships. Yeah. Because my guys had their race around Barcelona this weekend. Yeah. So it was dealing with all of that as well. So even though I was ill, I was trying to keep myself motivated and get some training in on the simulator in order to race this weekend. So yeah, pretty full-on week.
I mean, Diana, I should point out, we didn't make him do it. You know, we in fact, I did ring up Geordie in order to say, look, mate, don't worry, we have a plan B. You can potentially do it, but maybe another week, you know, get yourself feeling a little bit better. And I had an extremely abrupt response from him that just went, no, I am going to do it. Hell or high water, I will be fine. So, yeah, it was great. But it was great to see you get a lot brighter towards the end of the week and start to return to form. And those lap times were just dropping all the time in practice.
Yeah, my first sort of few laps, I was in the 54s. I then made the aim to try and get it into the 53s. And then once I was in the 53s, then it was low 53s, then it was into the 52s. So I got it around the mid 52s. But I mean, those guys who were going around, they're doing it in 51.1. And they're absolutely unbelievably quick. So, but yeah, it gives you something to aim for, doesn't it?
And Gareth, were you happy with what you achieved at the weekend? Because as you say, you hadn't been well, so there's that again. But I think the other thing that's important is that we're all trying to keep ourselves at a certain level and keep ourselves active and keep our minds going. So this must have been a really good distraction.
Oh, massively. Absolutely huge distraction. Give me something to concentrate. I mean, if I didn't have this, I would have probably done a lot more with the team, the F1 team. But this gave me something to focus on and just knuckle down and do. So it was a great distraction. And like I say, the opportunity to race with people of that caliber is just unreal. So yeah, it's a massive thank you to Mission Motorsport and all of their team for allowing me to participate and take part.
And in terms of the Formula E team, I think have just been brilliant. You know, you look to Formula E for innovation in motorsport. You look, that way to find out where people are pushing the boundaries and doing things which are new, both in terms of the cars and the way in which the sport is run, but in social stuff too. And to be given the opportunity, I think, for us to participate in something alongside, which is lovely, raising money for UNICEF, helping children across the world is fantastic. But it's putting us back among some old friends as well. We've got Mission Motorsport blokes out there working Formula E teams. We've got guys who work for Formula E themselves. And and it was lovely hearing Dario, who's a friend of ours, raced in a Mission Motorsport car and a Mission Motorsport team at Race of Remembrance, talking, prompted by your activities on track, about how he's looking forward to coming back to us. That's so cool. That's really good.
James, so it's clearly very important for Mission Motorsport to be involved with Formula E. How would you summarise that for you?
Formula E has been a really big part of the gestation of the charity, I think, over the last few years. We launched a big employment initiative across the automotive industry last year called Mission Automotive. And it's all about helping people who've had service careers to find opportunity in automotive. And there's two sides to it like that. And one is to offer incredible opportunities to guys like Geordie who've had an extraordinary career, but it's also to help industry itself to tap into the qualities of guys like him. And it's the whole emergence of electrification as a huge movement within automotive is enormous. But, as Geordie will tell you, you actually spend your whole time in your service career working with things which are considered by civilians to be high voltage. But in the military, it isn't. It needs to be over 1,000 volts to be high voltage, And it's one of the reasons why we've had guys and girls who've gone on to such success in automotive companies. But Formula E are very much a sort of pioneer in all of that. So it's brilliant for us to keep that narrative kind of running and keep it running along, and to put fire back into guys like Geordie who are just absolutely loving the opportunity to compete, and we're loving getting behind him.
So guys, what's next?
Well, that's you, Geordie. Come
on. So I've just been asked to take part in Hong Kong this weekend. I've done a trial of that one last night, and that is one heck of a track. So that one's highly, highly technical. So hopefully, give myself another mission. Don't go out in the first three, I think. So yeah, let's try and go four or above.
Brilliant. Well, wishing you all the best. And James, I guess you'll be across that again this weekend. Yeah, absolutely. And leaping backwards and forwards in between the other guys we've got competing in different series, and then this extraordinary, FIA, the ABB Formula E Championship, and this incredible sort of stay-at-home race which they're running. But yeah, all the best, Geordie. We'll be watching you and inevitably sharing the excitement and the more
crestfallen bits of it.
I might qualify this time as well.
Yeah, well, you never know.
Guys, thank you so much for your time. It's been great chatting to you.